Master Music Show. It's the Murder 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 Master Music Show. Hip-hop is dead, but we don't resurrect it. You follow what mainstream says, but here it gets rejected. If you wearing tight jeans, don't expect to get respected. I'm from a time where wearing black was always on your checklist. From a time where faggots get checked if they reckless. From a time where if you got too much shine, we snatch your necklace. This real shit here, Illuminati, fuck the industry. We represent the street and they respect our street ministries. Take no shorts and cut the middleman, literally. This hip-hop savior, our birth scenes like nativity. This a place where no one sells out for reliability, and the masses can get a chance to explore more creativity. You gotta be kidding me. If you call that hip-hop, niggas with high shades and fluorescent flip-flop. We killin' Big Brother, cause we know he watch. You don't like what I'm doing, then you can suck mine. And you don't stop. Music show. It's the Murder Master 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 Music Show.
Episode 289, Murder Master Music Show. What's up, everybody? This is Prez, homie Mac J. UGSforlife.com. Tonight, I'm telling you what, we got a hell of a show for you tonight. We got a real treat for you. We got, well, first off, he's an amazing journalist. You could definitely say he's one of my peers because, you know, I've been in the game for almost 2 decades now, and I know Ben's been doing it for a long time. We got Ben Westhoff. He writes for several publications, you know, news media outlets and whatnot. But we're having him on the show tonight because he wrote a phenomenal fucking book called Original Gangsters. Now, what this is, I'm going to give you guys a little breakdown of what it is from my perspective because I read it. If you want to know about West Coast rap from the beginning, pretty much, you really need to check this book out. It leaves nothing out. And I'm not just talking about the controversies, the beefs, the feuds, the murders. It's just packed full of some of the hardest material I've read in I don't know how long.
Great history
on the,
you know what I'm saying?
It touches on the Tupac and Biggie murders. It touches on Eazy-E's final days. Cube leaving N.W.A, Warren G and Dre. I mean, just so many things. It was a phenomenal read. A couple of things we're going to talk about from the book tonight. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on our guest, Mr. Ben Westhoff. How you doing, Ben?
Hey, well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It's a real honor to be on this show.
Right on, man. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, huge honor to have you here, and I want to thank you because there's a few tidbits of material in your book from the Murder Master Music Show. One in particular, KD, talking about Ice Cube's first name, which was Purple
that interview. That blew my mind when I heard that. I had no idea that. I mean, I knew Ice Cube was a big Ice-T fan, but I had no idea he was such a big Prince fan.
Yeah. And can you imagine if that would have been his name, Purple Ice? I mean, that would have been a game change back then, too.
Well, yeah, it's crazy because so many of the N.W.A. members were big Prince fans. Arabian Prince got his name from Prince also. He was originally called DJ Prince, and DJ Yella was like the biggest Prince fan. He did like a Purple Rain impression and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's actually doing faith healing right now. I mean, I saw, well, of course, he's touring the globe with Eazy's kids, Little Eazy and E3, which I commend him for doing that. Because, they sound just like their father, and if anybody should perform Eazy's songs, it should be his kids. But I saw a video of him. He was doing some type of faith healing, and I was like, wow, this is a big step from directing porn, and, it's amazing. But your book, though, it touches on so much stuff. How long did it take you to write this book? Because it looks like it was put together over a long period of time.
Well, I've been doing the reporting for about 5 years since I started as the LA Weekly music editor in 2011. And with that job, I got the opportunity to interview a lot of people like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, DOC, and I've been kind of working on the book full-time for the past 2 years since I stopped at LA Weekly.
Well, yeah, because you really, you get really, really thorough. I want to stress to our audience, there's some stories in here that are very, very controversial, of course, but there's also, I want to stress to them, there's a lot of dope musical stories in here. I'm saying, that talk about certain songs and different things coming to light. Like you talk about Biggie and Tupac actually meeting and becoming friends. And everybody remembers that line where in Hit 'Em Up, there's like, you slept on the couch, and you talk about that, where he went back to Biggie's house, he went back to Tupac's house, and Tupac fed him. That's an amazing story. Where did you acquire that information
it's amazing. Yeah, well, I think it was an interview with Biggie's tour manager or his assistant from the label or something like that. But, people forget that Tupac was already blowing up, was already a pretty big star when Biggie was just kind of getting started. And Tupac kind of took Biggie under his wing and tried to teach him everything he knew, kind of took him to school. And, Biggie's career wasn't taking off as fast as he hoped it would. And so he actually asked Tupac if he would be his manager. And Tupac said, no, I think you should stick with Puffy and he'll get you to where you need to be. And, but that's just kind of an example of how their careers were at totally different levels at that point. And that, also plays into after he got shot, Tupac believed that Biggie knew about it in advance, knew it was going to happen. And that made him kind of doubly mad because he mentored Biggie so much and helped him, and he really believed that Biggie had double-crossed him, even though we don't really know if that's true or not.
Well, but that's crazy. We all heard the story about him getting shot up in the studio, Quad Studios. But that's crazy that Biggie at one time had asked Tupac to manage him. That could have been a game changer too. What if Tupac says, you know what, I'm going to take a couple years off. I'm going to get behind this guy. That could have been too. A lot of what ifs. That's what's amazing about the book too. It makes you think, what if that happened? What if Biggie had went to London or to Europe, wherever he was going, instead of staying out in L.A. longer? He'd still be alive, maybe. Yeah.
Another crazy thing is that Eazy-E was trying to recruit Tupac to Ruthless Records, and he made a really strong effort to do that. And he was also courting Thug Life, Tupac's group, to come onto Ruthless. And if Eazy-E would have survived if he hadn't died from AIDS, some people think he would have signed with Ruthless when he got out of prison instead of with Death Row.
I was just about to say, was Eazy trying to, was he in the bidding to try to bail Pac out of jail like Suge bailed him out, or was it just like he was waiting till after he was on death row?
Well, he was dead. He was already dead when Tupac went to jail. But
that's right.
But you gotta. Yeah, I mean, the problem was that Tupac was still under contract with Interscope, so he couldn't sign with Eazy. But who knows if he if Eazy could have bailed Tupac out of jail, and maybe he would have signed with Ruthless if he was still alive. If Eazy was still alive, you never know.
And that would make sense because they had already worked together. Eazy and Tupac, as you pointed out in the book, were friends. Tupac was, of course, on Above the Law, Black Mafia, like, call it what you want. So, I mean, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I think if he would have signed with Eazy, if Eazy would have been alive, I mean, I think obviously Tupac would have probably been alive too. Do you think that there's a reason why the two biggest figures in West Coast rap history pretty much are both dead? Because it seems like, I mean, the Eazy conspiracy thing, a lot of people talk about that. Do you think there was a conspiracy with his death?
I understand why people think there could have been, because he died so quickly.
Yeah.
He didn't find out he had HIV until the beginning of 1995, and then he was dead basically just a couple months later. He went from HIV positive to AIDS just in the snap of a finger, and to a lot of people it seemed like that should have been impossible. But I talked to a lot of doctors, and I talked to other people who, with knowledge of his final weeks, and everybody I talked to said that, no, it's probably not a conspiracy. It probably really happened the way that we were told it happened. It's possible that Eazy was HIV positive for a long time before that, because people are often HIV positive and have no symptoms, and they might not even know. So it's hard to know like where he got AIDS from.
Sure.
None of his children have ever come forward and said they had AIDS. There's no reason to think any of the mothers of his children have had AIDS, and so that raises a lot of questions. But all the doctors and the people I talked to said that it's actually difficult to pass AIDS on to your kids, or you're even when it's a man having sex with a woman, it's not really as likely as you think. So that's kind of the conclusion I came up with.
Well, it was very interesting too. There's a part in the book that I was, when I read it, I was shocked. I was like, wow, people got to get this book. But there was a point where the Nation of Islam was involved as far as going to the hospital. They said that they were security or whatnot. They were watching over them. But there was a part in the book where it talks about at one point in time they were administering a drug. And apparently Eazy was getting better during the administration of this drug. This is a drug that the Nation of Islam supposedly has. But then that drug was stopped, reportedly by Tamika. What's the deal with this drug? What do you know about it, Ben? And, was it really making Eazy better? And why do you think Tamika would stop it if it was making him better?
Well, first of all, it was something that was touted as the cure for AIDS. Remember, this was 1995, and people didn't know much about HIV or AIDS back then. And looking back, there's no real evidence that this was. Yeah, looking back, there's no real evidence that this was a cure. It was sort of an experimental thing. It was actually from Kenya, and had been brought to the U.S. and people thought it might be, it might be the ticket, and it was called Chemron, and some members of the Nation of Islam who were watching over Eazy, his security when he was in Cedars-Sinai Hospital. Some members were helping administer this Chemron to him with hope that it would help him feel better. And there are some signs that he was kind of feeling a little bit better, although, it's far from clear that it would have done anything to cure him or anything like that. But from what I understand, his wife, Tamika, who he married on his deathbed, didn't want to keep administering this because she didn't know what it was. It wasn't approved by U.S. doctors. For all she knew, it could have been making him worse. And I'm not of the opinion, that Tamika was trying to kill him or anything like that. But still, some people that were close to him thought, this is a Hail Mary pass. We should keep giving this drug to him. So that's how that kind of happened.
And she ultimately had the say-so as far as the power of attorney. Like nobody, since were they married at the point in time when this drug was being administered to him?
Yeah, I believe so. They got married, only not very long. I think maybe 2 weeks before he died or something like that. And she was the one who was kind of calling the shots. So yeah, it sounds like it would have been up to her. Yeah, that's crazy because we've had as you know, we've interviewed several people from Ruthless, including Jerry, and a lot of people said that from what they thought that the marriage certificate was signed when he was already in a coma. And if that's the case, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying if that is the case, and this medicine was administered afterwards, and he was getting better, and she's like, "Nah, I'm done with it." It looks kind of suspicious to me. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying nothing. Of course, I'm not accusing anybody, but I'm just looking at what we know right now as far as the medicine and all that, and it just looks a little fishy. It really does. Because if he was getting better, you would think, hey, let's keep giving him this stuff, and let's see what it does, Because after now she said, okay, no more of this drug, and subsequently, what happened after she stopped the drug? Like, how long after that did he pass away? Well, I think it was not long until he passed away after that. So, there were people who were upset about that, but at the same time, it's more than 20 years later, and we still don't have a real cure for AIDS. So, I'm hesitant to say that this, would have done the trick, but there were people who believed it could have helped revive him, at least temporarily. Yeah. And, there was a lot of animosity against Tamika, partly because after he died, people didn't like the way that his fortune was divided up, the way that Ruthless Records was run, and, it kind of ceased to be such a powerhouse of a label like it was when Eazy was alive. But then again, there probably weren't a lot of people, probably was barely anyone who could have really continued Eazy's vision and been as great at running the label as he was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely innovator. He changed the face of hip hop. I mean, really, the West Coast family tree. You know what I'm saying? After him, pretty much connects to him. You know what I'm saying? From every angle. You know, I mean, Bobby, Jimmy, and the Critters and cats like that. Obviously, they were before him, but I'm talking about everybody during his time and after his time. You can trace back to him. He is the godfather of this. And Straight Outta Compton came out, huge success. These guys got in the Hall of Fame. So N.W.A. has been rejuvenated in the public eye. And with that, so is Tupac. You know, we got this All Eyes on Me movie coming up real soon. And Tupac, he was, or there's an interesting part in the book that I really liked. He just went to Clinton Correctional Facility right after, right during the time he dropped Me Against the World. He was in financial trouble. Yeah, one of the best albums of all time. But he was in a lot of financial trouble, and he asked somebody for money at the time. I believe it was Suge to help, help with the bills and whatnot.
Pay his legal bills.
Yeah, legal bills, and that was eating him up, and even help I think he gave him $15,000 to help his mom or something with a mortgage or something on the house. But
yeah,
what I want to know about is this: his manager had said that Tupac told him that when he signed with Death Row, he knew that he took an oath with the devil, so to speak. He signed his soul to the devil. Do you think he strictly went to Death Row for the money? I mean, what's your thoughts on all that?
Well, no, I don't think it was just for the money. I mean, the main thing I think in the beginning was that Death Row promised they could get him out of prison, because he was there pending appeal for his sexual abuse conviction. And so, they literally raised the money to get him out of there. So that was one thing. But another was, I think he saw Death Row as like an army kind of that could be on his side. And he was ready to go into battle against Biggie and Bad Boy. And he knew that Death Row could protect him and fight with him and roll with him in that battle. So Tupac was never really about money like that. He wasn't the guy who was always looking to make as much money as possible. It's possible that while he was in prison, he stopped being sort of the more optimistic, sort of positive, politically minded Tupac that we know from his first albums. And he shifted more towards the darker side, and that he saw Death Row as kind of lining up with this new vision he had. And, let's not forget that Death Row had Dr. Dre, and he wanted to make music with Dre, too. True
indeed. And obviously, that's what they did. They made history over there at Death Row. But Tupac had felt that, he confided in his manager. He felt that he had signed his soul with the devil. Was he referring to Suge, or was he referring to just the whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think he might have been referring to the whole situation. It's possible that deep down, he might have anticipated that the whole thing would go bad, and I mean, he was a smart guy, and it's possible that he kind of knew deep down that this was the right thing, maybe for his short-term goals.
He was prophetic. Yeah, he was very prophetic.
Yeah. But for the long term, he probably knew that this wasn't going to end well.
No. Now we've had, of course, we've had Greg Kading on the show. We also had Michael Carlin, co-author of Tupac 187, and Greg Kading's the author of Murder Rap. They both have a different theories on how Tupac died. You got stuff in there about Greg. Now Greg seems to think that Puffy had connections with Orlando.
Southside Chris or whatever it was.
Yeah, and Puffy wanted to strike first. When you were writing about that, how difficult was it for you to get information? I mean, were people cooperating about that? Because it kind of seems like people know what the fuck happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It seems like everybody, knows or believes that Orlando Anderson killed Tupac. With Biggie's death, there's a little bit more sort of question about it, but everyone seems to believe it was Orlando Anderson, and that's what Greg Kading's detective work uncovered as well. Now, as to the question of if Puffy promised him $1 million to kill Suge and Tupac, that's more of an open question, and that comes down to mainly the word of Puffy versus the word of the guy called Keefe D, who was Orlando Anderson's uncle, and who has said that he was in the murder car that night in Las Vegas when Tupac was killed. He wasn't the one who pulled the trigger. He said that his nephew Orlando Anderson pulled the trigger, but Keefe D is the one who said that Puffy offered them $1 million, and it was supposed to be $500,000 for Suge and $500,000 for Tupac.
Oh, he was supposed to take out both of them, yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, they tried. I mean, Suge did have a slug in his head. As far as I know, it's still there. That's why I always thought he didn't have anything to do with it, because it's like, why the hell would Suge Knight be like, okay, just hit him, make sure you don't hit me? I mean,
I don't buy that Suge had anything to do with Tupac's murder. I mean, he genuinely loved Tupac. They were really tight. Suge was right there in the line of fire, and this idea that Tupac was maybe thinking of starting his own sub-label and would have like the Outlaws on there and places like that and some other artists, but it probably would have been a sub-label on Death Row. I mean, we don't know that for sure. And Tupac was unhappy with David Kenner, the Death Row lawyer, but there's no real reason to think that he was ready to leave. He was 100% out the door at Death Row. And, so for all these reasons, it's just really hard for me to believe that Suge had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I never thought that Suge had anything to do with that shit either. I just always figured it was the motherfuckers they stomped out. Like, you just got to look at it realistically. Like, you get into a fight with some motherfuckers and you're jumping on them, and then later on it's shooting afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Usually it's the person that got stomped the fuck out that retaliates because of what the fuck happened. I always thought that. Me, myself.
Yeah, exactly. That would just seem to make the most sense, too.
Yeah. Well, and again, if there is a connection between Orlando and Puffy, obviously Tupac and Suge must have recognized that, because they like you said, they stomped the shit out of him. Maybe they knew, hey, man, this guy's going to kill it. Maybe if that's true, maybe he was there to kill him right there. To assassinate him right there. And they stomped him out before he had the chance.
They used to snatch chains and shit like that back in the days and do all that dumb shit.
Well, the reason that the eyewitnesses said that Tupac gave was that he recognized Orlando as the guy who'd stolen the chain from a Death Row chain from a member of the Suge and Death Row entourage. And so that was, the reason that they gave for stomping him. So it's you never can tell. I mean, there's probably a lot that was going on that we don't have any idea about, but it would seem to make the most sense that if you're beating somebody up like that in public, they're gonna be pissed and they're gonna try to retaliate it. It would seem to make sense.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And before I don't want to give everybody too much from the book because we want to have you back on once the book is out. What is your release date for Original Gangsters?
It comes out on September 13th, which is the 20th anniversary of Tupac's death.
Oh, that's dope. It's like paying homage to Pac right there.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And you can get it right now for pre-order. It's on Amazon and places like that. My name is Ben Westhoff, and then the book is Original Gangsters.
Yeah, it's a must-read. If you're a fan of hip-hop, or even if you're not a fan of hip-hop, there's so many great stories in here. Like I said, you go into detail about murders, about beefs, things that started as far as altercations with Cube and Above the Law, and there's a whole slew of things in here that people are just gonna love. I definitely recommend it. I'm gonna be doing a review, UGSforlife.com, closer to the release date. You got over 400 pages here worth of real dope material, man. You put together a hell of a book. Congratulations. And, man, you included it all. You talk about who invented
thank you. Yeah, basically I tried to start, at the very beginning, basically the era of Dr. Dre's first group, World Class Wrecking Crew, and I know you've had members of the show members of that group like Clientele on, and of course DJ Yella.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that same time, Ice Cube had some early groups, and you've had members of those groups on too, and then basically the book follows Dre, Eazy, Cube, and then through Snoop and Tupac, and it ends with the murders of Biggie and Tupac. And so the focus is really it's ruthless and death row. That's what the book is basically about.
Yeah, and that's dope. That's dope. It's and again, I stress to everybody that watched Straight Outta Compton and was disappointed, like, oh man, they didn't put this in there, they didn't put that in there. It was a dope movie. Don't get me wrong. It was highly entertaining, but there was a lot of shit they left out. And I'm sure all eyes on me people are wondering the same thing. Yeah, they're wondering the same thing about that movie too. I saw the trailer to that a couple weeks ago. That looked dope. But if you guys want to get all the info that's not in those movies, this is definitely a great place to start. Original Gangsters coming out the 13th, you said, of September?
Yeah. Yep.
The 13th of September, and right around that time, we'd love to have you back on, Ben, and talk more about the book. Like I said, I didn't want to give everybody away everything, but there's so much stuff in here. It's packed. Dope book. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Before we go, give everybody again all the information so they can go cop that book.